to the second part of Mr. Moose, and we are going to finish him up. When I was doing the last video and then I went to edit it, I had seen that you guys were not seeing any of how I did his nose, his eyes, how I put his antlers and ears on. So I'm redoing that second half, so we're going to finish him up today. We have his arms, so I did another one to this point, and then we will finish him up. And there was one of my subscribers, I had asked you guys if you had any names, and one came up with Elmer. So this is the camouflage one, is going to be Elmer, and I'm going to show you on this one. She's a little sunflower gnome, or gnome, moose. And her name is going to be Sunny for sunflowers. So I'm going to show you how I did her nose, and then how I go up from her nose to do her eyelashes. Okay, so we will do that also. So let me get you set up so you can see the work table, and I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. So we're going to first do the nose like this, so that we can bring, because there's nowhere really to knot. So we're going to do the nose, and we're going to bring it up to the back of the head. So then it's going to be hidden by either the antlers or the hair, probably by the antlers. Okay, so I have black crochet thread, and I'm going to knot it. I'm going to do like the surgeon's knot, and I will get you guys a little closer. I'll make sure you can see it this time. Okay, so let me get some stuff out of the way and move you a little closer so you can see. Okay, so we're going to knot it, and then we're going to cut just a little bit away from the knot. And we're going to start, you're going to need kind of a long needle, so we're going to start at the back of the head. I'm going to kind of start off on the side. And you'll probably have to squeeze the nose so you can get the needle up there. And you just kind of find where you want his little nostril to be. And then I would suggest having a pair of needle nose pliers, and so that you can grab that needle and pull it through. Okay, so I mean, they have a lot longer needles. Doll needles is what they're called. So I would probably use one of those. And then you're going to pull that through. And then so the knot is going to come out. It's going to be back there. And we're going to take 2 stitches, and you want them fairly big, and you want to come out right, either right where this thread is coming out of, or very close, very next to it. So the stitches are almost laying on top of each other, but right next to each other, if that made sense. Probably not. Okay, so we're going to go, we got our first, we came back here, we're going to go down here, but we're going to go to the other side. So you figure out where you want the little nostril, and let me look. So we're going to go right there, and I'm just going to check and make sure you guys are seeing this, and then pull that. Don't pull it too tight, because then you'll kind of lose your stitch. It'll get sunk in. Okay. So if you need to tighten up that first stitch, you're going to loosen this one and then pull it a little bit, and then pull that one. And the way I thread my needle is I don't double it like you would a regular sewing thread. I leave it like this so that if I make a mistake, I can take the needle off and take my stitch out. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to go back over right, either next to or in that same hole where that thread is coming out. And then you're going to pull that. Don't pull it too tight. And you're going to go back in that. And then we're going to try to come out either the same spot where the knot was or pretty close to it. I would say somewhere where you figure out where you're going to put your antler or your ear. And we got to tighten up that first stitch. So I'm going to loosen that and then pull this one. And just make sure they're not crisscross, so that they're laying right on top of each other. Okay. And we're just going to glue on his antlers and his ears. And I'm just going to make it easy for you guys so we're not sitting here sewing for half an hour. So if you guys like my content and you want to see more, hit that subscribe button. And then click on that bell, and that will notify you each time I upload a new video. If you already have subscribed, thank you for joining my crafting community. I appreciate it so much. Okay, so we're gonna figure out where we want his antlers. And I did those ahead of time. So I showed you how we sewed them and then we stuffed them and put the glue inside. So if you want them like on this one, they're going straight out. If you want it like this one, they're going out the back. So you figure out how you want their antlers. I'll turn them around so you guys can see. I put one over here. Okay, so it depends on how you want the antlers to come out, on how you're going to place it. So I'm going to move them kind of off to the side. So if you want it coming out like this, you're going to put the antler here. If you want it like this, you're going to just glue them right against that back. But I like them going out a little bit more. Okay, so I'm going to glue it. I'm going to put glue right here. And you don't need a ton because it will squirt out. And then you're going to have to hold it. So figure out where you want it because you got to put your ear right in front of it. So I'm going to do it right there. And what I'm going to try to do if I can get a couple of pins. So I got a couple of pins just to hold it. And then I'm going to do the same thing to the other one. I'm just going to put some glue. And then we're going to glue, and then we'll glue right by the knot. And then the ear will cover up the rest of it. And then just make sure your antlers are even. So I'm just going to take in a couple of pins and putting them right on the side. So that's how I did put the pins in. So then that will hold it while it dries. And then we have to put his eyes. So I've got some different choices that I had, different eyes. And I'll show you guys options so that if you can't get any of the ones that I have. So I kind of redid my ears because I had to make a whole new mousse. So how I did these ones was, instead of tucking it in like I did in the other video, which you can do if you're going to sew it, I just put glue on the inside, and you don't need to put it you don't want to put it very far down. So I just put it on the inside, and then I'm just going to squeeze that shut and pinch it. And I'm going to grab one of these clips, and then I'm just going to let it sit there and dry. Okay. So I'll show you the eyes that I got. When you do his arms, his hands, I wanted to give you a tip about that. Do how I showed you in the other video, and make sure you really glue around the edge of the sleeve down there so that you can get that stuck really good, so it almost looks like it's, you know, one piece. And the beads that I got were at JoAnn's, and they came with round ones. They came with 3 different sizes, and then they came with these ones also. So I had used on this one, I used these beads for her, and it worked out just fine. You can't even tell. So those are at JoAnn's, and you can get them for, I think they're $20 for, you know, a big bag. If you get a coupon, they have their coupons at 40% off, 50% off. So here's our ear. Now I'm going to just trim just a very little bit on that so it looks nice and flat. And we will glue that on, but we're going to do his eyes first. So the eyes that I used on the first one were these ones. They're animal eyes, and I have the package. So this is the package. This is at Hobby Lobby, and there's 20 of them in here, and they were $1.99. So there's a lot of eyes in there. So I think JoAnn Fabrics is a little bit more expensive than Hobby Lobby for eyes. But then they also have, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see this. No. This one, it actually has an iris in there. So it's really dark brown, and then there's 2 little centers. So I think I'm going to try to use these today just to see what it looks like. And I thought this was kind of cute. I don't want to glue it on, but know that maybe after I get his ears on. These ones I got, and they did have a back. They're not going to stay on there because it had this kind of back on there, so I cut that off. So I thought about using those, and those I got off Etsy, or I got, which you can get anywhere, is the wiggle eyes. And what I did was took a Sharpie marker, just like the fatter tip one, this one, and I went around the edge of the eye, just so it didn't have that stark white look. So you could do these. These are the oval ones. This is the one, so you can see the difference. I did the one with no black around the edge, and then that one. So I thought those were kind of cute. Or the round ones that are just the wiggle ones. I would go over the black a couple of times. So I thought that was kind of cute. But I think I'm going to use these ones with the brown. And they have different colors. I think they have blue too. So we're going to do those. And they do have, this is at Hobby Lobby. These are buttons. And it's got the shank on the back. So you can get, I don't remember how much these were, but these are, I think it's the Sewology. And you can usually get these 50% off if you watch. But the other ones were a much better deal. And these were 10 millimeter. So they have different sizes also. I think they even have smaller ones than that. But there's 20 of them in here. So you get 10 sets of eyes then. Okay, so let's glue. I got to turn them around so I can glue his eyes on. And figure out where I want them. And you don't need a lot of glue. Okay, I'm going to try to do this so you guys can see. And this is a little bit bigger eye than the other one. So you might have to use a little bit more glue. And then press it down. If you have any questions on anything that I did, that I used, just leave a comment. And I answer every one of my comments. So now we'll get his ears on. So I'm just going to glue his ears. We can take the pins out. And these are pretty long pins. The shorter ones wouldn't. Well, they might have worked. I just would have had to get it closer. So we're going to glue his ears on. You're going to put that right there, hopefully. And they maybe could have been a little smaller, but need a glue stick. And then I got to show you how to do the girl. So those you're going to have to push on. Let's see if we can put the pins in again. I don't want them to move. Okay, and then he needs his hair. We're going to do his feet, and I did make a hat. The one I made in the other video was a green one, but I didn't care for the color, so I did the camouflage. And then I crossed his arms. I thought that looked kind of cute. So I did the hat. I sewed it just like I did in the other video. So we're going to get his feet on. And I'm going to tuck this in. I got to move some of these. I'm going to tuck this in and then glue it. And if you cut your material, like I said, on the stretch, and just like I did, my foot is not quite round over here. You can either pull it, or if you use your turning tool, you can put that in there and kind of push it and stretch it out a little bit. So we'll glue that one and get his other one. So we're going to tuck this in. You're going to make sure they're both the same, and we're just going to glue this on. And when you put your glue down in there further, because it's going to squeeze and it's going to come up. And then take your clip and clip that. Okay, so let's cut. We're going to cut a little piece of hair, and then we'll cut some hair for Sunny, is what her name is going to be. And we're just going to cut just a teeny little bit, because we don't need, probably no bigger than an inch. And remember to always cut just the backing on your fur. And I always use small scissors. You can't really, it's really hard to do it if you do bigger scissors. I know they do it at the fabric store, but when I just bought this one at Hobby Lobby, and he took the scissors, and I thought, oh my God, he's gonna cut right through it. But he cut a little snip and he ripped it, and I said, oh, thank you. And he's like, some you can rip and some you can't. Okay, so we can take these pins out, and then you got to decide how you want the hair. So we're going to put it right like that, and I'm just going to put the glue on the fur on the back. And you can press that down, and we'll put his hat on last. And now we're going to glue his feet, and I'm just going to glue them right. I'm going to put the glue like right here. And when you put your rice in the body, make sure you don't put too much. And if you do, if he's not standing up, you might have to push it in a little bit like that. So don't put too much rice in your body. So you're just putting the glue right kind of on that top edge of the foot right there. And you don't need a big gob. And I like to point the feet out, and then he can dry. And now we'll put his hat on. And I'm going to just stuff it just with a little bit. And then I'll just put glue right inside that hat. Try to get it on the edge. And then set it. I got to turn him around here so I can get it centered. There we go. And now I'm going to take, and I put eyeshadow, like a pink eyeshadow. I do their ears. And I just got my eyeshadow at the Dollar Tree. But if you have some that you don't use, or you can just use blush too, if you have your makeup. Which I have a few different kinds of blush, so I've used blush too. But I just had bought this for something else for crafts, so I just had it. So you're just going to take and put it in there. And then I kind of did their cheeks a little bit. So I'm just going to kind of, I'm trying to see what you guys, trying to let you guys see, and I'm trying to do it at the same time. So I'm just going to go right like that. You don't have to do this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the brown, and I'm using the side of the eyeshadow brush, and I'm going to go right over that seam where we sewed his head together. So it kind of gives him, as it looks like his mouth. And like I said, this is optional. So just be careful, don't take too much, and try to go right over that seam. And there we go. He is done. He needs something to hold. He doesn't have anything to hold. His scarf. So what I did is I had this green fleece, and I cut it, and I didn't know if it was going to be long enough, and it was. So what I did was, and I was trying to stretch it to see if I could make it longer. So I just took and pulled it like this and it curled up. So you can do that, and then that just kind of tucks everything in, so you don't have to, you know, you can do however you want to do it. But I just thought that worked out really good. And if you have a piece that's not long enough to tie it, just glue it. So you overlap it and then just glue it. But I'm going to tie this, and then I'm going to cut his fringe. And it doesn't have to be, you know, long, long, long. You can make it whatever you want to. So now I'm just going to cut thin strips, but not too thin. Try to get them all about the same. And there you go. And what I did on this one, I pulled these and it kind of curled, but I'm not going to do that on this one. I can show you. And I did this if you cut these really thin strips, and if you want to tie it around the hat, a gnome hat is what I've done on some of my videos. So if you just take this piece and pull it, and just kind of pull your fingers over it like you're squeezing water out of it, it curls. I just thought that was really cool when I don't know how I came about doing it, but I think that looks really cool. So, okay, so we have him all done. Okay, so let me show you on Sunny how to do, we're going to do her nose, and then we're going to come up and do her eyelashes. And this, doing the thread, the way, I have to make sure I have enough. This is the way you want to do your thread for this, because if you make a mistake, you're going to be able to rip it out. Otherwise, you're going to have to rip everything out and start all over again. So we're going to do her nose start it a little different. You're just going to tie one single knot. And let me get you guys closer so you can make sure you can see how I'm doing this. So I'm going to start, and I'm going to start on this side of her nose. So if this was her bottom, let me put pins in, I'll show you. So if that was the bottom of her nostril, and that was the top, so I'll be going like that. And then the other one's going to come over there. And it's going to be, so we're going to start here. And then we're going to go over to here. So I'm going to show you what I did. And I did this on my first moose, but I did it differently on the second one. But for her, we have nowhere to hide the knot. We could do it up here and it would be under her hair. So you could do that also. But I'll show you how I did it. And it took me a few times. So I'm going to take this pin out and I'm going to go right about in there, and I'm going to go over to this pin. So I'm going to take that out. And then what you're going to want to do is you're going to have to try to pull, you're going to cut this thread shorter or by the knot. And you're going to try to pull that knot so it just stays underneath this fabric, not so it comes back out this hole. And you have to pull. You have to pull. Like I said, it took me a few times to do this, but if you want to go underneath the hair, if you know you're going to put hair on, do it that way. See, when you want to get it through, it won't come through. There. Okay, so that's how I did that. And then I'm going to go to this one here, So I'm going to take that out, and I'm going to do the 2 stitches like I did on Elmer, right in the same hole. And don't pull it too tight, and then go in, and then you're going to go back over to this side. So let me see. And just make sure your thread doesn't get tangled, and so they're laying right next to each other. Now you're going to take this pin out and go in that hole, and you're going to come back out that same hole that thread in the front is. So right like that. And I sewed her ears like I showed you guys how I did the back of the head and the top of the body. You just do that invisible stitch. You're going from one side and then get some, take a stitch on the other side. You're going back and forth just to give it a little gather. I think it looks really cute. So then we're going to do another stitch. And on this one, instead of coming out the front, we're going to go up by the eye. So you need to figure out what eyes you're going to use. And I thought I had mine already cut. Be careful when you cut your backs off, because like about every time I pinch myself with my clippers, because I'm trying to get so the back doesn't fly. So you're going to cut those off. If you want to poke it through, you can take a tiny little slit of fabric, or just make a little slit, or you might be able to even poke it through just going like that. But I just would rather cut it and glue it instead of not having it in the right place. So then you have to figure out where your eyes are going to be, and they're going to kind of go right where this indentation is. So you've got to, her eyelashes have to start underneath, right at the edge of the eye. Okay, so let me see, make sure you guys can see. Pull her hair back so you can see. Okay, so now we got our needle here, and we're going to come up. Let's do our pins again for our eyes. And I like, because I like their eyes a little closer together. So right about there. So we're going to come up right by that, where that pin is, probably a little above it, because her eye, so don't pull your pin through until you know that's where you want it. So right about there. Okay, and you're going to come out further. You're going to come out on this edge over here. So we're going to do this first eyelash right there. So you're going to pull that through, and then make sure your thread, mine's kind of crossing. And if your stitches on your nostril, if it's, mine is, one is a little loose, I have to tighten, pull that, and then tighten that first stitch, and then pull this, and there we go. So now you're going to have to make sure you get these even on both sides. You're going to take a longer stitch, and you're not going to pull it not tight at all, and you're going to come up right next to that other stitch, not on top of it. But just a little bit, just so there's fabric between the stitches. And you're going to pull that up. Don't pull it too tight. And this stitch can be the same length or a little longer. And then your next one is going to be right next to it. Oh, I just took my pin out of the other one. And then pull that. And this one can be a little bit shorter. And then you're going to go over to the other eye. And you're going to try to come out on the same spot. I'm just going to get a needle. So you're going to, this stitch here is what we're going to do first on this side. So you're going to come out over here. And like I said, if you do your thread your needle, like I said, if you make a mistake, you can take your thread off your needle and take out your stitch. So if we go, and then look where your stitch is over here, and then see if it kind of matches on that side. And then after we get this done, then we will glue her eyes on. So now you're going to go out, take about the same size stitch, and I'm going to go a little bit, and then come up right next to that stitch. Okay, I'm going to make sure you guys are seeing what I am, or see what I'm doing. And if you want to do more eyelashes, you can. And then go down, you're going down like right by her ear, and you're going to come up right next to that middle stitch for that third eyelash. And then you're going to take a short one, you're going to make sure it's the same length as this one. And then just come out on top of the head, and we'll knot it up there, and it's going to get hidden by hair. So, or if you wanted to, you could knot it right here by the eye, and then you're going to glue it, but I would come up by the top of the head, and it's going to be hidden by the hair. So we're going to get it like right on the top. And then I'm just going to take a stitch. Nobody's going to see this. If you make this for somebody, you don't have to tell them what you did, because they're not going to be able to get her hair off to look. So it's all good. And when I thread my needle like this also, I'm trying to get my, I always make sure that this is long, this tail is long here, so that I don't lose, so my needle doesn't come off. It has, if I'm not paying attention to it. And I'm not trying to get my, just trying to do a knot. And then you're going to put glue on this so it's not going anywhere. And then leave a little tail because we don't want it to come undone. So there we go. There we got her eyes. So let's get her eyes on. And you're going to want to cover those stitches a little bit. And when I put the glue on, I put it on, and then I swirl my glue gun around, and it kind of gets rid of that string a little bit, and I had some fuzz. I need a bigger glue than that. Oh, I probably got too much. And there she is. So let's get her some hair. And let's see. So we're going to cut our backing the same way. And I got this fur at Hobby Lobby. It's nice and long. It's very pretty. I have to get some white because I don't think I have hardly any white fur for Christmas. Okay, this is a little wide. I gotta cut it a little. And then what I would do on some of your fur is maybe cut these corners, if you can try to round it a little bit. It may not be that noticeable, but And then I usually use, I was using an old toothbrush before, but I get these nail brushes. You can get them, I believe, at Walmart in the makeup section by the nails. You can get them at beauty supplies. So we're going to glue so her bangs are coming over this way. And I'm just going to put my glue on my fur, because then I know I'm going to get it where I want it, and I'm going to actually put a little bit on the knot. And then you're going to make sure you're not going to get glue on her eyes. And we're going to cover up her eyelashes a little bit, but that's okay. And then tuck that down. I'm going to pull it away from her eyelashes some, because I like them to be seen. And now we're going to move her hair out of the way, and we're going to do her eyes, her makeup. We're going to do her makeup. So we're going to put it right in her ears. And if you get fuzz on your brush, on your eyeshadow brushes, take it off, because it does get on there. And I got a little bit of glue on her ear. And then we're going to do her cheeks a little bit, if she has cheeks. And we'll do her mouth. Like I said, all this is optional. You don't have to do the blush or the eyeshadow, or, and I'm using pink. Well, that's okay. Hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing. So let me check. I could probably back you up a little bit, so. So you could do pink for her mouth if you wanted. So there she is. So let's do something with her hair. I was thinking about doing a little sunflower, and her hair is kind of puckered up there. So I thought about doing a sunflower, but I think I kind of like the bow. So let's try, I don't know if this is going to be too bright. So I'm just going to take a little bit of hair. Actually, here, I'm going to try to do it a little different. And this is the hard part. What you probably can do is, if you want to tie a bow, I'm going to tie I'm going to tie it on the bottom of all of her hair and see if I like it. And I'm just going to kind of tie a knot, and then this is hard to do when I can't face it toward me. And I'm going to slide it on there and pull it so it's like that, and then I'm going to try to tie a bow. And I'm going to try. And because you can't pull on it, you don't want to pull the ribbon off the hair. And I have feet for her. You can't forget her feet. I think I have feet. I might not have. I don't have feet made. So she'll get feet later. Same as the other one. Okay. And then you're just going to get your bow the size you want. And then you got to pull it tight. I'm trying to fix my loop on my bow. Okay, give me just a second here because I'm trying to turn this ribbon. These aren't easy. You could tie a bow and glue it in her hair if you wanted to do that. If you don't want to be this tedious. And then we'll cut. And I might change this after if I don't like it. And then I made little flowers for her to hold. I just took the, these flowers came, and I should have left them, they came in a package from the Dollar Tree. And so when they had them in their fall stuff, I grabbed quite a few packages because I knew I was going to use them. And so I can just put that in her arms because I do have the, it's made the same way as the bigger moose. The pattern is linked below. It's a free PDF. And I will put feet on her, but I don't have them made. So those are our gnomes. I got gnomes on the brain. That is Sunny. And this is Peaches. And you can see their heads don't turn out the same, even if I use the same pattern. In the pattern below, I gave you guys 4 different size heads. So, if you're not sure about the size, just practice on some scrap fabric. So that you can get the right size. Because I know I've had made some smaller heads. And I made a head for these guys, and they ended up being too small. So then I had to make it bigger. But let me back you up. So you can see the whole gang. Oh, I got her scarf. I was going to give her a scarf. We'll do a green one, since that's what I got here. So I'll cut it a little smaller. Because Peaches has a scarf. So I'm just going to pull this just to curl it. So then it tucks those ends in. And we'll wrap it around. We're going to take her flowers off. And like I said, if you didn't have enough to tie, just lay one part over the other and then just glue it. So, and we're probably going to cut some of her curls a little shorter. Or fringes. So she just needs her feet, and she'll get them. And she's got her flowers. I had a little bird for her I was going to put on too. So there is all of the gnomes, and I am going to make one. My husband came up with the name because I was telling him about some of the people, some of the comments of names that people had gave me for my gnomes. I know I have to work on something, but for the moose. So he thought that we should do Elmer. He didn't say what color, but Elmer and Ellie. So Elmer's wife would be Ellie. So, and then So the camouflage are going to be known as Elmer. The buffalo plaid, I'll have to think about that because I've got names below or in the comments that people have given me. And so thank you guys for joining me today on the second part of the Mr. Moose and finishing him up. If you guys like my channel and you want to see more content, click that subscribe button, hit that bell, and that will notify you each time I upload a new video. If you have subscribed to my channel, thank you for supporting me. If you have any questions, any comments, let me know which one of these is your favorite in the comments below. And if you have any questions how I did something, what I used, just let me know, leave them in the comments, and I will get back to you. So thank you guys for joining me today. I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.